Hey everyone, welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're all about getting to the heart of things, really understanding those crucial topics without getting bogged down in the details. And today, we're tackling something that's pretty vital, the environment and this whole concept of sustainability.
Absolutely. It's a big one, isn't it? And we've got some fascinating material here that breaks it all down in a really clear way.
Yeah, it's just great because it's designed to be super accessible, which is fantastic because it takes these really complex issues like climate change and pollution and lays them out in a way that's easy to grasp.
Right. And even though the language is straightforward, don't let that fool you. The implications of these issues are huge for all of us, no matter where we live.
No doubt about it. So think of this deep dive as your express lane to understanding the major pressures our planet's facing right now. We're going to be looking at climate change, of course, and then digging into the different types of pollution, what's happening with deforestation, and that ever-growing problem of waste.
And we can't forget about sustainability, right? It's kind of the key to figuring out how to deal with all these challenges.
Exactly. It's all connected. So our mission today is to give you the essential information, connect the dots so it all makes sense, and leave you with a clear understanding of what's going on and why it matters so much.
Sounds good to me. Where do we begin?
Okay, let's start with the problems themselves, those core environmental concerns everyone's talking about. What are they, and what do we need to know?
All right, well, let's kick things off with climate change. One of the most interesting things about climate change is how it connects the Earth's warming to all the things we do every day. Driving cars, running factories, and using fossil fuels.
Yeah, it's like our everyday actions have these global consequences.
Exactly. And a big part of that is the release of gases, especially carbon dioxide. These gases act like a blanket, trapping heat in the atmosphere.
Right, it's like the greenhouse effect.
Yeah.
And it's not just about things getting a little warmer, it's causing all sorts of changes in weather patterns, right?
Oh, absolutely. We're seeing more extreme weather events, intense heat waves, heavier rainfall, stronger storms, and then there's the melting of ice at the poles, which is leading to rising sea levels.
It's pretty scary stuff. Even a simple sentence like, I think climate change is a big problem because it makes summers hotter and winters shorter, really drives home the impact. It's not just some abstract concept, it's changing the seasons we experience.
Definitely. And it's not just about humans either. You hear people say things like, it scares me, the ice is melting, and animals like polar bears are in danger. And it's true. Entire ecosystems are at risk.
It's heartbreaking. And that melting ice, it doesn't just affect those local areas, it impacts ocean currents, which can then affect weather systems all over the globe.
Oh, absolutely. It's a chain reaction. And that's what makes climate change such a complex and challenging issue. It's all interconnected.
Okay, so that's climate change. What's next on our list of environmental concerns?
Well, the material we're looking at talks about pollution next, and it defines it pretty simply. The contamination of our air, our water, and our land. It gives these really clear examples like smoke from cars polluting the air, plastic trash building up in rivers, and just litter everywhere on the ground.
I think we've all seen those things, unfortunately. It's so common now.
It is. And it's one thing to see it, but it really hits home when you hear someone say something like, I don't like pollution because it makes the air hard to breathe. It's a basic human need, and pollution is directly impacting that.
Totally. And it's not just about how it looks or smells either. Air pollution can cause all sorts of health problems, especially respiratory issues. It's a serious public health concern.
No question about it. These pollutants are affecting us on so many levels. It's a bit of a domino effect, impacting our health and the balance of our ecosystems.
So we've got climate change, pollution. What comes next?
All right, so next up we have deforestation, which is basically the cutting down of trees on a massive scale. And I think the article really highlights just how important trees are, not just for providing oxygen, but for creating habitats for so many species.
Yeah, forests are like these incredible ecosystems, and they're home to so much biodiversity. When we clear them, it's not just about losing trees, it's about disrupting these intricate webs of life.
Exactly. And it really hits you when you read something like, deforestation is sad because birds and monkeys need trees to live. It's a simple statement, but it underscores that we're not alone on this planet. We share it with all these other creatures, and we need to consider their needs too.
I totally agree. And it's not just those charismatic animals that are affected, it's insects, fungi, microorganisms, everything that makes up a healthy forest ecosystem. And when you lose forests, it affects everything. Soil stability, water cycles, even local climate patterns can be thrown off balance.
It's like pulling a thread from a tapestry. The whole thing starts to unravel.
So we know it's a problem. But why does it keep happening? What are the driving forces behind deforestation?
Well, the article touches on this too. It mentions how some people cut down forests because they need wood or because they want to clear land for agriculture. It's often about economic needs, but that doesn't make the environmental cost any less significant.
Right. It's a complex issue, and there are often these competing interests at play.
Yeah.
But we need to find ways to balance those needs, don't we? Protect the environment while also considering people's livelihoods.
Absolutely. It's about finding sustainable solutions that work for everyone.
Okay, so we've got climate change, pollution, deforestation. What's the last big environmental concern we're talking about today?
Well, the last one the article focuses on is waste, which is something we all deal with every single day. It's basically all the stuff we throw away, plastic packaging, food scraps, all that. The problem is we're producing way more waste than the planet can handle.
It's true, our landfills are overflowing and all that trash has to go somewhere?
Right. It often ends up polluting land and water, and a lot of it doesn't even decompose. It just sits there for decades, even centuries.
It's a pretty grim picture. But the article also offers a little bit of hope, right? It mentions how some people are trying to reduce their waste by doing things like using reusable water bottles.
Oh, definitely. And there are so many other ways to make a difference. Composting food scraps, using reusable shopping bags, avoiding single-use plastics.
It's about making those conscious choices. But I think it can feel overwhelming for people, like what difference can I really make?
I get that. But every little bit helps. It all adds up. And when we make those changes collectively, that's when we start to see real progress.
So it's about personal responsibility, but also about working together to find solutions.
Exactly. It's both individual and collective action.
Okay, so we've spent a good chunk of time talking about the problems, these environmental challenges that are impacting our planet. But the article doesn't just leave us there, does it? It introduces this concept of sustainability as a way to move forward.
That's right. It's not just about doom and gloom. It's about recognizing the problems, but also focusing on potential solutions.
So in simple terms, what is sustainability really all about?
Well, the way it's explained in the article is pretty straightforward. It's basically about using the Earth's resources carefully so that we can meet our needs today without messing things up for future generations. It's about finding a balance between what we take and what we give back.
Right. It's not about halting progress or going back to living in caves. It's about being more thoughtful and responsible in the way we interact with the environment.
Exactly. It's about making choices that are sustainable in the long term, not just for us, but for the planet as a whole.
And the article gives some examples of what that might look like, right? Things like planting new trees after we cut some down, using less plastic, recycling more.
Those are all great examples, and I think they illustrate how sustainability can be applied in so many different ways, from individual actions to large-scale projects.
And I really like that sentence from the article. Sustainability is important because I want my children to enjoy clean air and green forests. It makes it so personal, It connects this big concept to something we all care about, the well-being of our children and future generations.
It really does. And it shows how sustainability isn't just about abstract ideas. It's about creating a better world for the people we love.
And that little snippet of conversation, what does sustainability mean to you? To me, it means saving energy and not wasting water. Shows how these big ideas translate into everyday actions,
Yeah.
It's about making those little choices that add up over time.
Absolutely. Sustainability is about changing our mindset and our habits.
Okay, so we have a clearer picture now of the problems: climate change, pollution, deforestation, waste, and this idea of sustainability as a potential solution. But I think it's worth taking a moment to address the listener directly here. Why should they care about all this?
That's a great point. Sometimes these issues can feel so big and distant, like they don't really affect our daily lives. But the truth is, we all live on this planet, and its health directly impacts our own well-being.
Exactly. And the article makes that clear. It says, this planet is our shared home. It's a simple statement, but it really drives home the point that we're all in this together.
We are, and we're already seeing the consequences of environmental damage all around us. Air quality is declining in many places, some regions are facing water shortages, and extreme weather events are becoming more frequent and intense.
It's like a wake-up call, isn't it? We can't just ignore these problems and hope they'll go away. We need to take action.
We do, and it's not just about protecting ourselves either. We have a responsibility to the other living beings on this planet, plants, animals, all the incredible biodiversity that makes Earth so special.
That's right. We're part of a larger ecosystem. And when one part of that system is damaged, it affects the whole. And I like how the article puts it. I care about the environment because I love swimming in clean rivers. It highlights that personal connection to nature and how environmental health allows us to enjoy the things we love.
It's a great way to personalize it,
Yeah.
because it's true for so many of us. We care about the environment because it allows us to experience the beauty of nature, to breathe fresh air, to drink clean water.
Those are pretty fundamental things, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And that's what that little dialogue in the article emphasizes too. Why do you think we should care about nature? Because if we don't, we won't have fresh food or clean water someday. It boils it down to our basic needs for survival.
So it's not just about saving the planet in some abstract sense. It's about ensuring that we can continue to live healthy, fulfilling lives.
Exactly. It's about securing our future.
Okay, so we've talked about the problems, the concept of sustainability, and why it all matters to us personally. But I think one of the most helpful things about this article is that it provides some real-world examples of sustainability in action.
I agree. It's one thing to talk about these concepts in theory, but it's much more inspiring to see how they're being put into practice.
Exactly. So what are some of those examples that stood out to you?
Well, the first one that caught my eye was the increasing use of reusable shopping bags.
Yeah.
Many places have banned or started charging for single-use plastic bags, which has really encouraged people to switch to reusable alternatives.
It's amazing how such a simple change can have such a big impact. And the article captures that nicely with the sentence, I like using reusable bags because they stop plastic waste. It's straightforward, but effective.
It is, and it's a great example of how individual actions can make a difference.
And that little conversation starter, my town banned plastic bags, what about yours, is a nice touch. It encourages people to think about what's happening in their own communities and to get involved in local initiatives.
Totally. It sparks that local engagement.
So that's reusable bags. What else did the article highlight?
Well, another really cool example is solar power. Using solar panels on homes, businesses, and even large-scale solar farms to generate electricity from the sun. It's a fantastic way to reduce our reliance on fossil fuels and lower carbon emissions.
It's definitely a clean and renewable energy source, that's for sure. And the article states that pretty clearly, solar power is clean and doesn't make overs. But I think it's also worth acknowledging that there are some challenges associated with solar power, like the initial cost of installation and the fact that it's not always sunny everywhere.
Oh, absolutely. It's not a perfect solution, but it's a step in the right direction. And the article prompts some critical thinking with the question, do you think solar panels are a good idea? It encourages people to weigh the pros and cons and form their own opinions.
Right. It's about having those informed discussions and considering all the factors.
Exactly. Okay, so another example that really stood out to me was tree planting initiatives. The fact that millions of trees were planted in India in a single day is just incredible. It shows what's possible when people come together to make a positive impact.
It's truly inspiring. And the simple statement, planting trees helps animals and makes the air better, highlights those tangible benefits that everyone can understand.
It does. And then the article poses this question, have you ever planted a tree? Which I think is a great way to bring it back to a personal level. Have you ever contributed to this effort in some way?
It's a nice touch. And it's something that anyone can do, even if it's just planting a tree in their own backyard.
Exactly. It's about participating in solutions no matter how small.
Okay, what's the last example we're going to talk about?
Well, the final example the article highlights is recycling programs, and it specifically mentions San Francisco as a city with a particularly impressive system. They're doing a great job of diverting waste from landfills and conserving resources.
San Francisco's commitment to recycling is definitely something to admire. And the article emphasizes the simplicity and effectiveness of recycling with the sentence, recycling is easy and saves resources. But I think it's also worth pointing out that not all recycling programs are created equal, and it's important to educate ourselves about what can and cannot be recycled in our own communities.
Oh, absolutely. It's about being informed and making sure we're recycling correctly.
And that last little question, does your school have a recycling bin, is a great way to bring it back to that everyday context. It encourages people to look around and see what recycling resources are available to them.
It's about taking that awareness and turning it into action.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today. We've explored the major environmental challenges facing our planet: climate change, pollution, deforestation, and waste. We've also learned about the concept of sustainability and how it can help us address these issues.
And we've seen some really inspiring real-world examples of sustainability in action, which I think gives us hope that positive change is possible.
I agree. It's not all doom and gloom. There are things we can do, both individually and collectively, to create a more sustainable future.
Exactly. It's about taking action and working together.
And I think the article does a great job of highlighting some of the key vocabulary that's important for understanding these issues. Terms like nature, recycle, pollution, energy, reusable waste, forest, carbon dioxide, or co-Euro sustainability, and climate.
Those are all essential terms, and having a clear understanding of them allows us to engage in more informed conversations about these topics.
It's about building that shared vocabulary so we can all be on the same page.
Exactly. Okay, well, as we wrap up this deep dive into environmental concerns and sustainability, we want to leave you with one final thought. We've seen how individuals, communities, and even entire cities are making conscious efforts towards a healthier planet. So, as you go about your day, think about those diverse examples of sustainability in action, from something as simple as using a reusable bag to large-scale solar projects and robust recycling programs. What's one small change you could consider making in your own life to contribute to a more sustainable future?
It doesn't need to be a monumental shift, just one small step, maybe even starting today. It's about recognizing that even small individual actions, when multiplied across many people, can have a huge collective impact.
And that's what gives me hope.
Me too. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We hope it's given you some food for thought and inspired you to take action. Until next time. Ever think about how much those old stories, from way back when, still kind of shape our world today?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
It really is. Welcome to the deep dive where we, you guessed it, we dive deep into fascinating topics. And today, it's all about major historical events.
Awesome. I love history.
Me too. The really cool thing is the material we're using, it's actually from a collection for English language learners.
Oh, interesting.
But the insights, seriously fascinating for anyone who wants to understand, how we got to where we are now.
I bet.
Our mission today is pretty straightforward. We're going to pull out those key facts and insights from these historical turning points. Think of it as a shortcut to get why they matter, without getting totally lost in the weeds.
I like shortcuts.
Who doesn't? Plus, we're hoping to spark some aha moments for you along the way.
Aha. I love those.
Ready to dive in?
Let's do it.
All right, so we've got a pretty packed lineup. We'll be looking at the discovery of America in 1492, the French Revolution, that's 1789 to 1799, the invention of the printing press around 1440, World War II, the big one, 1939 to 1945, and then to finish on a high note, the moon landing in 1969.
Wow, quite a reign.
It is. Okay, so let's kick things off with Christopher Columbus, the guy who sailed the ocean blue in 1492.
Yeah. Okay, so the story, the one we all kind of know, is that in 1492, Christopher Columbus, an Italian explorer, right, he set off on this voyage across the Atlantic.
Right.
And his original goal wasn't actually to find the Americas. He was trying to find a new sea route to Asia.
To India, spices, all that.
Exactly. And, instead he ends up in the Americas, which back then was pretty much unknown to Europeans. So for them, this was like a huge discovery.
It's like finding a whole new world, literally.
Literally. And this moment is really seen as the beginning of European exploration and, importantly, colonization of the Americas.
Right. And that's something I think is really important to remember here. It's not just about finding a new place on the map. Our source material makes it clear that this was the start of European exploration and colonization.
Totally.
That second part, the colonization, that's crucial for understanding the whole picture.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it wasn't just, oh, hey, look what we found. It was, oh, hey, look what we found. Let's claim it.
Exactly.
And so while for Europeans this was a moment of discovery, it's really important to think about it from the perspective of the people who are already living there,
Right. They weren't exactly thrilled.
No, not exactly. The arrival of Europeans, it brought about some massive changes for those native populations. And a lot of those changes were pretty devastating.
Diseases, displacement, all that.
Yeah, totally. And beyond just the initial voyage, this event, this discovery, it sets off what's known as the Columbian Exchange. This huge transfer of plants, animals, diseases, and even culture between Europe and the Americas.
It went both ways, didn't it?
It did, yeah. But for the indigenous people, a lot of the consequences were really negative, especially with the introduction of diseases like smallpox.
It's kind of a mixed bag, isn't it? On one hand, this incredible discovery, but on the other, this devastating impact on the people who were already there. Our source actually touches on these different ways of looking at it. You know how some people see Columbus as this hero, this brave explorer, while others really focus on the negative consequences for indigenous communities.
Makes sense.
And the source uses some key words here that I think are helpful. Explorer, voyage, colonization, and discovery. These are all important for understanding the different sides of this period.
I see.
And there's this example conversation in the source that really highlights how even a simple discussion about this event can bring up these complex issues. And it really encourages you to think about it from multiple perspectives, which is so important when we're looking at history, right? It's rarely black and white.
Totally. It's all shades of gray.
Exactly. Okay, so let's fast forward a few centuries to France, the late 1700s.
Right.
This is the time of the French Revolution, a period of huge upheaval from 1789 to 1799. What was going on there? Like, what were the main things that led to this revolution?
Well, like a lot of revolutions, it really boils down to discontent. There was a ton of poverty in France at that time, especially among the regular folks.
Right, the everyday people.
Exactly. And on top of that, the taxes, they were super unfair. The aristocracy and the clergy, they got to enjoy all these privileges while the burden of paying for everything fell on everyone else.
So not a lot of love for the rich and powerful.
Not really, no. And then you've got King Louis XVI, the ruling with absolute power, completely out of touch with what people needed.
Yeah, not a good recipe for stability.
Definitely not. And all this anger, all this frustration, it eventually explodes, leading to some really dramatic events.
Like what?
Well, the revolution was all about overthrowing the monarchy, you know, that whole system with a king or queen in charge. And it culminated in the execution of King Louis VI, a pretty powerful symbol, right?
Yeah, that's a big statement.
It was, and after that, they tried to establish a new government, although it changed a lot throughout the revolution. But the revolution wasn't all, you know, sunshine and roses. While it did promote these ideas of liberty and equality, it also had its dark side, like the Reign of Terror. It's a good reminder that even revolutions with the best intentions can get messy and have unintended consequences.
It's complicated, right?
Very. But the impact of this revolution, it wasn't limited to France. Our source really stresses that it inspired ideas of freedom and equality around the world. That's a pretty significant legacy.
Huge. I mean, think about it. The French Revolution, with its slogan of liberté, égalité, fraternité, liberty, equality, fraternity, it spread far beyond France's borders. It made people question the way things were in other parts of the world, and it laid the groundwork for a lot of our modern concepts of human rights and democratic governments.
Wow.
The source uses some important terms to help you grasp all this. Revolution, monarchy, equality, and uprising.
Makes sense.
And to add a kind of gruesome detail, it mentions that the king was executed by guillotine.
Yikes.
Yeah, it was a pretty intense period. This event, the French Revolution, it really was a turning point. It shook up traditional power structures and gave rise to those powerful ideas, freedom, equality, that we still value so much today.
Makes you realize how far we've come, right?
It does.
Okay, so let's jump back in time a bit now. We're going back to the invention of the printing press. This one's around 1440, and it's a game changer for the spread of information.
Oh yeah, the printing press.
It's huge, and we're talking Johannes Gutenberg, the man behind this amazing invention. You know, for us, living in a world where information is everywhere, it's kind of hard to imagine what it was like before mass-produced books, right?
Right?
Like, can you even picture that?
It's wild, right? Before the printing press, books were copied by hand. Monks, usually, in monasteries. Can you imagine? So slow, so expensive. It meant books were super rare, and only the super wealthy or the church could get their hands on them.
So knowledge was basically for the elite.
Pretty much. And then Gutenberg comes along with his printing press and movable type, and everything changes. How did it even work? And what did this mean for, everyday people?
It was brilliant, really. Gutenberg figured out how to cast individual metal letters, that's the movable type, and he could arrange them to make whole pages.
So much easier than carving those big wood blocks.
Way easier. And the letters could be reused, which was key. They'd ink the letters, press them onto paper, and boom, a page. It made making books so much faster and cheaper.
Talk about a revolution.
It was. And the result? Books were suddenly available to way more people.
Which led to
a whole bunch of things. Our source highlights how knowledge spread more easily, education grew, and it even fueled big cultural movements like the Renaissance and the Reformation.
It's incredible how one invention can have such a massive ripple effect.
I know. It's like dropping a pebble in a pond and watching the waves spread out.
Perfect analogy.
So the printing press, it helped spread new ideas and different points of view. It gave people the power to learn and think for themselves, which led to a real blossoming of the arts and sciences during the Renaissance. And it was a big deal for the Reformation, too, because it made religious texts way more accessible so people could interpret them on their own.
No more relying on the priests to tell them what to think.
Right. And the source uses some specific terms here that really highlight the significance of this technology. Invention, printing press, movable type, and Renaissance.
It's like the internet of its time, wouldn't you say?
Definitely. It's like the internet before the internet. Information was suddenly available to so many more people.
It makes you appreciate how important access to information really is. All right, so let's move on now to a much darker chapter in history, World War II. This one lasted from 1939 to 1945, and it was a global conflict on a scale we'd never seen before. So what started it all?
Well, according to our source, it all kicked off in 1939 when Nazi Germany, led by Adolf Hitler, invaded Poland. That act of aggression is considered the trigger that set the whole world on fire.
And it escalated so quickly.
It did.
Like suddenly everyone's picking sides and it becomes this massive, incredibly complex war with countries all over the globe involved.
Yeah, the main sides were the Allies that included the United States, the Soviet Union, and the United Kingdom, and they were fighting against the Axis powers, which were mainly Germany, Japan, and Italy. And it was brutal. The fighting was happening across multiple continents with a level of destruction the world had never seen.
It's hard to wrap your head around it, really.
It is.
But in the end, the Allies were victorious.
Yeah.
But the human cost,
Yeah.
absolutely devastating. Our source says millions of people died.
Millions.
It's just,
Yeah.
it's hard to even fathom that kind of loss.
It's almost impossible to grasp, yeah. World War II, it's still the deadliest conflict in human history. And there's another really difficult part of this war that our source mentions, the atomic bombs. The United States dropped atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in Japan. They call it a terrible moment, which it was, but it did play a big role in ending the war.
It's a very complex and controversial event.
Definitely.
But when we look back at World War II, I think the biggest lesson we can learn is the importance of peace, of finding ways to work together to prevent that kind of devastation from ever happening again. It also shows us how dangerous unchecked aggression can be and why we need to have systems in place to maintain some kind of global stability.
So true. And World War II, it's still being studied today. I mean, it had such a huge impact on the world, on all of us.
Okay, so now let's completely shift gears. We're going from the darkness of war to the excitement of space exploration. We're talking about the moon landing in 1969. This was a moment that captured the world's imagination. Do you remember where you were when it happened?
I don't, actually. But I know about it.
It was pretty incredible. On July 20, 1969, NASA's Apollo 11 mission did something that had only been dreamed of in science fiction. They landed humans on the moon.
Wow.
Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin, they were the astronauts who actually took those first steps on the lunar surface, while Michael Collins orbited above in the command module.
It's wild to think about.
It is. And of course, who can forget those famous words from Neil Armstrong as he stepped onto the moon? That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Such a powerful quote.
It really sums up the magnitude of that achievement for everyone, for all of humanity. It was an incredible feat of engineering, scientific innovation, and just pure human courage. The Source highlights it as a huge achievement in space exploration, proving that we could do things that seem impossible.
So inspiring.
The Source uses some key words here that I think are really fitting. Astronaut, lunar, mission, and achievement. They really capture the spirit of this whole endeavor.
Yeah, they do.
I don't know about you, but it gives me a real sense of hope for humanity, you know?
Totally. Like, if we can put people on the moon, what can't we do?
It's true. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today, from voyages of discovery to revolutions, from the power of the printed word to the horrors of war and the wonder of space exploration. You know, it's really amazing to see how these seemingly different events, they're all connected in some way.
I agree.
And our source, it actually gives some really helpful tips for talking about history. I think these are useful even if you're not learning a new language. It's about how to understand these kinds of events and how to talk about them in a way that makes sense.
Good tips are always welcome.
definitely. So what are some of the main takeaways for our listeners?
Well, one of the most important things is to get the basics down.
Yeah.
When and where did the event take place? That sets the scene,
Right.
And then it's about adding those details, who was involved, what exactly happened. That helps you build a clearer picture.
Right. It's about creating that context.
Yeah. Exactly. And then the source stresses the importance of explaining the impact. Why did this event matter? Both back then and now. It helps us understand the significance of it all.
It's like connecting the dots between then and now.
Precisely. And on a practical level, for actually talking about these things, it suggests using connecting words like then, because, and so.
Those are good for keeping things organized.
Yeah, they help create a smooth flow, especially when you're describing a sequence of events or explaining how one thing led to another. And don't be afraid to ask questions. It's a great way to keep the conversation going and to explore different aspects of the event.
It shows you're really engaged,
Absolutely. And another thing to remember for both understanding and talking about history is that we mostly use past tenses, although the present tense can be used when talking about the lasting effects of something.
Good point. It's all about those subtle nuances. Okay, so we've come to the end of our historical deep dive. We've traveled through some truly significant moments in history, from Columbus's first voyage to the Americas to revolutions that changed the course of nations, from the power of the printing press to the devastation of World War II, and the incredible achievement of the moon landing. We've unpacked a lot of information and thought about why these events still matter today.
We have.
And I hope you've gained a deeper understanding of these pivotal moments and maybe even had a few of those aha moments we were talking about. But here's a question for you to ponder, something to keep thinking about even after we sign off. Out of all the events we discussed, which one do you think had the most profound impact on the world we live in now? And why? Or maybe there's one that sparked your curiosity more than others, something you want to delve into further.
So many questions.
History is full of them, but that's what makes it so fascinating. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those aha moments coming.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the place you come to get right to the heart of complex topics. No messing around, just the stuff that matters. And today, we're tackling something huge. The environment and, sustainability. Our plan, as always, is to give you that clear, informed view, kind of like an express lane to understanding what's really going on.
Exactly. And the material we've gathered for this is really good. Breaks down some seriously complex stuff, climate change mechanisms, pollution, makes it understandable, but without losing sight of just how massive the implications are for everyone.
Absolutely. So think of this as your fast track. We're going to hit climate change, different kinds of pollution, deforestation, the tree issue, and that ever-growing problem of waste. And weaving through all that. Sustainability, that's really the key idea for tackling these things.
It is, yeah. They're all connected, deeply interconnected. Our job today is basically to give you the essentials, connect those dots, and make sure you leave knowing what's happening and, crucially, why it matters.
Okay, let's dive into the problems first. Those big environmental worries everyone's talking about. Starting with climate change. We hear global warming a lot, but it's striking how it links back to just everyday stuff. Driving cars, factories running, how we get our energy, simple actions, but global consequences.
That's the core of it. It's about releasing gases, mostly carbon dioxide, CO2, but others too, like methane. These gases build up and they act like a blanket around the earth, trapping heat. That's the greenhouse effect in a nutshell.
And it's not just about things getting warmer overall, is it? It's messing with weather patterns. We're seeing more extreme events.
Definitely. More intense heat waves, yeah. Much heavier rainfall in some places, stronger storms, that kind of thing.
And the melting ice, that's a big one too. Glaciers, polar ice, leading to sea levels rising.
A huge one. And you hear people saying things like, summers just feel hotter now and winters seem shorter. It's not abstract science fiction. It's people noticing real changes.
It really brings it home. And what about animals, ecosystems?
Well, yeah, that's critical. The impact on wildlife is immense. You hear things like, it scares me.
Yeah.
The ice is melting, and animals like polar bears are in danger. That really highlights the impact beyond just us.
Yeah.
And, that melting ice, especially the huge sheets in Greenland and Antarctica, it does more than just raise sea levels locally. It can actually mess with ocean currents, which then affects weather patterns globally. It's like a chain reaction. Makes it all very complex.
Wow, okay. That's a lot to take in just on climate change. So moving from that sort of global atmospheric scale, let's talk pollution. A bit more direct, maybe. Contaminating air, water, land.
Yeah, simpler definition maybe. Yeah. But the examples are, well, they're everywhere. Smoke from cars and factories, plastic trash ending up in rivers, just litter on the ground. We see it all the time.
We do, and someone in the material actually said, I don't like pollution because it makes the air hard to breathe. That's hitting a really basic need, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's not just ugly, it directly affects health. Breathing problems are a big one, obviously. But polluted water, contaminated soil, it all has knock-on effects, a real domino effect on health and the whole ecosystem balance.
Okay, so we've got climate change, pollution. What about deforestation? Cutting down trees on a massive scale. Why is that such a critical issue? Trees give us oxygen, right?
They do, yeah, but it's so much more than just oxygen factories. Forests are these incredible complex ecosystems. They're home to just vast amounts of biodiversity. Birds, monkeys, sure, but also insects, fungi, microorganisms. It's staggering. So when you clear them, you're not just losing trees, you're tearing apart these really intricate webs of life. Like someone said, deforestation is sad because birds and monkeys need trees to live. Simple, but true.
That really puts it in perspective. It's their home. And it's not just the animals we see, is it? You mentioned insects, fungi. What else happens when forests go?
Well, beyond the biodiversity loss, clearing forests messes with the soil. It leads to erosion, less water gets absorbed, it disrupts local water cycles, can even change local weather patterns, sometimes leading to drier conditions. It's like pulling a thread from a tapestry, the whole thing starts to unravel.
But why is it happening so much?
That's complex. Often it's economic drivers. Need for wood, clearing land for farming crops or cattle mining, sometimes just cities expanding. There are often competing interests, economic needs versus protecting the environment, which is why finding genuinely sustainable ways to manage land and resources is so important, balancing those needs.
A tough balance for sure. Okay, climate change, pollution, deforestation. What's the last big problem area our sources highlight?
Waste. Just waste. Something we all deal with every single day. Plastic packaging, leftover food, old stuff we throw out. The core problem really is that we're just making way more trash than the planet can actually handle or break down naturally.
Right. And it ends up where? Landfills mostly.
Mostly, yeah. Overflowing landfills. And that waste pollutes the land, leaches into water sometimes. And a lot of it, especially plastic, just sits there for decades, centuries even. It doesn't really go away.
Grim picture. But there's some hope mentioned too, right? Individual actions.
Yes, definitely. The material points to things like people consciously using reusable water bottles, maybe composting food scraps, trying to avoid those single-use plastics, little things. It can feel overwhelming, like what difference can I make? But these individual efforts, they add up. They show a shift in thinking.
That's true. It's easy to feel like a drop in the ocean, but maybe.
But every little bit genuinely helps.
Yeah.
It's about that collective action building from individual responsibility. They really work together.
Okay, so we've spent a good chunk of time on the problems. Climate change, pollution, deforestation, waste, heavy stuff. But importantly, the sources don't just leave us there in the doom and gloom. They talk about a way forward. Sustainability.
Right. It's not just about saying, here's what's wrong, but also, here's how we can think about fixing it. So how do they define sustainability simply?
It's put really nicely. Using the Earth's resources carefully so that we can meet our needs today without messing things up for future generations. Basically, balancing what we take with what we give back or what we preserve.
That's a key idea. It's not about stopping progress, is it? More about being thoughtful, responsible in how we interact with the environment, making choices for the long haul.
Exactly. Not just thinking about right now, but the future, too. Examples given are things like planting new trees when you cut some down, using less plastic overall, recycling more effectively.
Yeah, practical stuff. And there's a quote that really connects it personally. Sustainability is important because I want my children to enjoy clean air and green forests. That really links it to caring about the future, about family.
That's powerful. It makes it less abstract, more human. And there was that little exchange, too. What does sustainability mean to you? To me, it means saving energy and not wasting water. Just simple, everyday habits reflecting that bigger idea, changing mindsets.
Totally. It boils down to those daily choices, those mindset shifts, adding up over time.
Okay, so we have the problems. We have this idea of sustainability as the solution. Now, let's get right to it for you listening. Why should you care? I mean, these big global issues can feel really far away sometimes, can't they?
That's fair. But the core answer is pretty simple, really. This planet is our shared home, like the only one we've got. Its health, directly impacts our health, our well-being. We're all connected to it, whether we think about it daily or not. We're literally all in this together.
And the effects aren't just future possibilities anymore, are they? We're seeing things now. Poorer air quality in cities, water shortages becoming more common, those extreme weather events we talked about. It's kind of a wake-up call, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah.
And, it's not just about us humans. It's about protecting all the other living things we share the planet with. Biodiversity. We're part of this much larger ecosystem, and damaging it ultimately damages ourselves, too.
That interconnectedness again. And someone put it really nicely, connecting it to personal joy. I care about the environment because I love swimming in clean rivers. It's about being able to enjoy those basic, wonderful things: clean air, clean water, nature.
Absolutely. And another perspective boiled it down even further. Why do you think we should care about nature? Because if we don't, we won't have fresh food or clean water someday. It really comes down to survival, doesn't it? Securing our own future.
So we've laid out the what and the why. Problems, solutions, relevance. But what really makes us hopeful, I think, are the real-world examples our sources give. Seeing sustainability in action.
Oh, definitely. Theory is one thing, but seeing it work in practice, that's inspiring. It shows it's not just talk.
So what's an example that jumped out at you?
Well, a really simple, everyday one is reusable shopping bags. You see them everywhere now, partly because lots of places have banned or charged for single-use plastic ones. And someone in the material just said it plainly. I like using reusable bags because they stop plastic waste. Straightforward, effective, individual action.
Yeah, that's a visible change, isn't it? And it gets people talking to, like, oh, my town banned plastic bags. What about yours? Starts a local conversation. What else?
Solar power. That's a big one. Seeing panels popping up on roofs, businesses, even huge solar farms. It's about generating clean electricity, moving away from fossil fuels, as the source says. Solar power is clean and doesn't make pollution. Well, less pollution in operation anyway.
True, it's a game changer. Though it's fair to say there are challenges, right? Like the cost to install them initially, and, well, you need sun.
Exactly. No magic wand.
Yeah.
But it's a major step. And the material actually prompts thought by asking, do you think solar panels are a good idea? It encourages people to weigh it up themselves.
Good point. Fostering that critical thinking. Okay, another one that shows massive collective effort. Tree planting drives. Like India planting millions of trees in just one day. That's incredible scale.
It really is mind-boggling. And the benefit is clear, as someone noted. Planting trees helps animals and makes the air better. Simple, direct benefits everyone can grasp.
Definitely. And then it brings it right back to the individual. Have you ever planted a tree? Makes you think, maybe I could do that.
Exactly. Even one tree helps. And the last big example area was recycling programs. San Francisco gets a mention for being really good at diverting waste, saving resources. The takeaway is clear. Recycling is easy and saves resources.
Yeah, some places are doing amazing things. But it's also true that recycling isn't always straightforward, is it? You need to know what your local system actually accepts.
Very true. Knowing the local rules is key to making it effective. And the source ends a bit with a really practical question. Does your school have a recycling bin? Or your workplace, maybe? Makes you look around your own environment.
Okay, we have really covered a lot today. We've walked through the big environmental challenges, climate change, pollution, deforestation, waste. We've dug into what sustainability really means as a path forward. And importantly, we've seen some inspiring examples showing that, yeah, positive change is actually happening. It's not just doom and gloom.
Absolutely. The hope, I think, comes from knowing that solutions do exist, and they're powered by both what we do as individuals and what we can achieve together.
And just to quickly mention, the source material flags some key words that are really useful for understanding all this. Nature, recycle, pollution, energy, reusable, waste, forest, carbon dioxide or CO2, sustainability, and climate. Knowing what these mean definitely helps you follow the conversation and, participate.
Definitely. So maybe as we wrap up, here's something to think about. We've talked about reusable bags, solar panels, recycling, all these different actions, big and small. What's maybe one small thing, one deliberate change you could think about making in your own life? Something that nudges things towards a more sustainable future? Doesn't have to be massive. Just one step, maybe starting today.
Yeah, that's the takeaway, isn't it? Those small steps taken by lots and lots of people, they really do add up. They create a huge collective impact. And that, I think, gives us a real sense of hope and purpose. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive.